Yes, good evening to everyone. Today, this week, I will talk to you. I will talk to you about conclusion part in academic writing. So, when we say the conclusion, the academic writing, just to remind all of you, academic writing is the result of a research carried out in relation to an argument or hypothesis claimed by its writer. Academic papers have an argument and it represents the result found out as a result of the findings in the research performed. And of course, the academic papers have their peculiar structures: abstract, introduction, body, and conclusion. So far, we have discussed the introduction and body parts, but today we will discuss the conclusion part. And what is the conclusion part? Before doing this, so you see the structure. Introduction part introduces the subject, body part, the writer develops the paper in body part, and the writer presents proofs to render his argument valid in scientific sense, like interviews, questionnaires, primaries or secondary sources. And so far, we have, when we discussed the citation technique, like Harvard, MLA, Chicago, and APA, all the citation techniques were chosen or were rather used in the body part. But today we will talk about the conclusion part. So what is the function of conclusion part? This is important. Conclusion part is significant for making the concluding remarks and covering the subject matter of the paper. How? For example, presentation of the results related to the research discussed in the paper, and the statement of the generic idea that supports the main argument of the paper, establish the basis of the conclusion part in academic papers. And remember, in the introduction part, we discussed that introduction part has a systematic approach or a systematic basis. The same is applied to the conclusion part. But before talking to this, when writing the conclusion part, there are some phrases commonly used in the conclusion. How, for example, in conclusion, to conclude, to sum up, all in all. These phrases are commonly used in the conclusion parts at the beginning of the concluding paragraph. These are used here. And like the introduction part, as we said, the conclusion part has a systematic approach. In this sense, we will talk about the methods of reasoning, deduction, induction. We discussed all these, remember. Deduction, known as top-down logic, deduction signifies reaching a conclusion reductively by applying the general rules which hold over the entirety of a closed domain of discourse, narrowing the range under consideration until the conclusion remains. And the induction part, known as the bottom-up logic, induction stands for reaching conclusion by generalization or extrapolation from specific cases to general rules. So based on these two items, induction and deduction, which one is used in the conclusion part? Well, induction is the chosen method of reasoning in conclusion part. But how do we use induction in the conclusion part? This is important. Steps in writing the conclusion. All these steps may answer our question. The authors begin conclusion by restating or re-emphasizing or paraphrasing their approach to the main topic of the paper, and hence put emphasis on their main argument in the conclusion part. Based on the statement of the main argument and the outlook on the subject matter of the paper, the author or authors summarizes the key points and the arguments that support the main arguments of the paper. So in this context, we can say that the conclusion part is the summary part of the paper. But is it really so? No. Because conclusion does a lot more than summarizing ideas or arguments. So what does it do? We will talk about this right now. The conclusion part leads readers to reflect on the broader significance of the subject matter of the academic papers. Conclusion part discusses why it is difficult to arrive at a definitive answer to the question posed in the paper. The conclusion part raises questions that could be considered as the possible subject matter for the future papers. And the conclusion part presents the author's predictions about the probabilities concerning the subject matter problematized in the papers. And the conclusion part offers some suggestions for the resolution of the issues problematized in the papers. So conclusion part does not only bring a summary of the papers, but it also offers some suggestions for the problems or predictions of the author concerning the features of the subject matter, or some questions that may help the researchers to expand or to improve their researches. Thank you for listening.